The untold truth about Mother Teresa is far more complex than the saintly image we've been sold. Born Anjeze Gongshe Bojakshu in 1910 in what is now North Macedonia, she would become one of the most recognized humanitarian figures of the 20th century. Her Missionaries of Charity grew from humble beginnings to a global organization with thousands of nuns operating in over 130 countries. But beneath this veneer of selfless service lies a troubling reality that few are willing to acknowledge. Mother Teresa's journey began when she joined the Sisters of Loreto at 18, taking her religious name after Thérèse of Lisieux. After teaching at a convent school in Calcutta for nearly 2 decades, she experienced what she called a call within a call to serve the poorest of the poor. In 1950, she founded the Missionaries of Charity, dedicated to caring for the hungry, the naked, the homeless, the crippled, the blind, the lepers, all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared for throughout society. Her work earned her global acclaim, culminating in the 1979 Nobel Peace Prize. When she died in 1997, she was mourned worldwide and fast-tracked to sainthood, canonized by Pope Francis in 2016. The perfect story of selfless devotion, right? Not quite. What many don't know is that Mother Teresa's facilities often provided substandard medical care despite receiving millions in donations. According to medical professionals who volunteered at her missions, patients were given inadequate pain medication and treated with reused needles, merely rinsed in cold water. Dr. Robin Fox, editor of The Lancet, observed in 1994 that her hospices lacked basic medical diagnostics, with sisters untrained in distinguishing which patients needed what treatments. The Canadian academics Serge Larive, Carole Sénéchal, and Geneviève Chenard published a comprehensive study in 2013 revealing that Teresa's clinics offered no palliative care expertise. They wrote, "Mother Teresa believed the sick must suffer like Christ on the cross." This philosophy translated into practices that many medical professionals found horrifying. Christopher Hitchens, one of her most vocal critics, documented in his book, The Missionary Position, how Teresa once told suffering patients, "Pain is the kiss of Jesus." When asked about this approach, she reportedly said, "There is something beautiful in seeing the poor accept their lot to suffer it like Christ's passion. The world gains much from their suffering." Perhaps most disturbing was the disconnect between the organization's massive wealth and the conditions in its facilities. The German magazine Stern reported that only 7% of donations were allocated to charity, while the rest funded the expansion of the order and its missions. When Mother Teresa received the Nobel Prize money of $192,000, not a single penny went to improving conditions in her hospices. Former volunteers like Hemley Gonzalez have described witnessing nuns reusing needles after merely rinsing them with tap water, patients lying on thin mats on the floor, and inadequate food provisions despite the organization's substantial resources. Gonzalez was so disturbed by what he saw that he founded an organization called Stop the Missionaries of Charity to expose these practices. Then there's the matter of Teresa's political associations. She cultivated relationships with dictators like Haiti's Jean-Claude Duvalier and Albania's Enver Hoxha. She accepted donations from Charles Keating, convicted in the savings and loan scandal of the 1980s, and even wrote a character reference letter for him during his trial. When informed that the money Keating had donated was stolen, she never returned it or responded to the information. The miracles attributed to her for canonization have also faced scrutiny. Monica Bezra, whose tumor allegedly disappeared after praying to Teresa, later admitted she had received conventional medical treatment. Her doctor, Dr. Ranjan Mustafi, confirmed that she had been treated for a tubercular cyst, not cancer, and that medicine had cured her. What's perhaps most revealing about Mother Teresa was her own crisis of faith. Her private letters, published after her death, revealed she experienced a darkness for the last 50 years of her life, feeling no presence of God. She wrote, "Where is my faith? Even deep down, there is nothing but emptiness and darkness. If there be God, please forgive me." This spiritual struggle remained hidden from the public during her lifetime. The Vatican's rush to canonize her, waiving the traditional 5-year waiting period after death, suggests an eagerness to cement her legacy before too many questions could be raised. Pope John Paul II, who fast-tracked her beatification, had a close relationship with Teresa and used her image to bolster the Church's standing during a time of declining influence. None of this is to say Mother Teresa didn't believe in her mission or that she didn't inspire countless acts of charity. But the gap between her carefully cultivated image and the reality of her work reveals something important about how we create modern saints. We prefer simple narratives of goodness over complex truths. The real legacy of Mother Teresa isn't just the thousands of nuns who continue her work or the millions inspired by her example. It's also a cautionary tale about uncritical adoration, about how we sometimes prefer comforting myths to uncomfortable realities. It reminds us that even those we elevate to sainthood remain fundamentally human, complex, contradictory, and flawed. Perhaps the most honest assessment came from Teresa herself, who once said, "If I ever become a saint, I will surely be one of darkness." In that rare moment of self-awareness, she may have understood her legacy better than most of her admirers ever would.